Disgusting. Sick bastards. Filthy animals. Vile and sick human beings. Child abusers. Animals. Disgusting bastards, filthy animals, vile animals, sick, vile human beings, abusers, child abusers, animals. Just some of the names thrown at the subject in this story. Make up your own mind. Welcome to Extraordinary Stories Podcast. Hi. How are you? Are you well? Are you good? I am. Now, this episode is brought to you, not from some sort of advertising campaign, as is the ones that usually start. This episode is brought to you by Audible. No. This episode is brought to you by the Patreon supporters who every month support the podcast, because I have been able, finally, to buy myself some swanky new equipment, and it's exciting for me. I'm sitting here in front of a microphone on a stand with some proper equipment that's like going to help me to just, make the podcast sound different, sound a bit more professional, hopefully. Bear with me while I get the sound levels and I get my head around all of that. I hope it's still sounding okay. But yeah, lots of people help me every month on Patreon, support the podcast, and any donation on Patreon is so welcomed. Money's tight for everyone. Money is tough. I get that. So even if you're giving me £1, £1 a month, I really appreciate it, because it's meant that I could go out and feel like a right fancy pants buying myself a new expensive microphone and some new equipment. So thank you, Patreon supporters. Alright, one shout out. Let's do it. Let's get on with the story. Shout out goes to not one person, but a group of people who listen to the podcast. Shout out goes to, first of all, the person who got in touch, and that is Stephen. Stephen, I think I say your surname Squance. Okay? Stephen got in touch, and this is where Stephen works. He works at the RIDU. What is that? I hear you ask. It's the Regional Infectious Diseases Unit in Edinburgh. And Stephen let me know that him and some of his colleagues enjoyed the podcast. So, his colleagues, Sheila Morris, Amy Shepherd, and of course, Stephen, hello and thank you for listening. Sheila, Amy, Stephen, I love that you listen, and I hope that you continue to. Have a good day, whatever you're doing, whatever your work at the RIDU involves. Know that I am sending you my Baz love. Alright, well, we are wandering into territory I have never wandered into before. But you know me, I like to go to weird places and, well, you know this by now. If you've been along for the ride with Extraordinary Stories, you know that if there's something that I don't quite get, don't quite understand, need to kind of form an opinion about, then I'll do it through finding a story about it. Now, this story, I don't think it needs a warning, but if there was a warning, it might be less of a contains graphic language warning and more of a it might make you just feel a bit awkward. It might make you feel a bit sick. Depending. I don't know. I don't know how you're going to feel about it. You can get in touch and let me know. Anyway, that's enough chit chat. Enough yabber jabber from me. Do you want an extraordinary story? Okay, let's go. Alright, I'm going to introduce you to a couple. They are Jenny and John, and they live in Australia. In their home, you have Jenny, you have John, and you've got 3 children. 2 girls and a boy, ranging from baby age up to teenage age. Jenny is in her late 30s and John in his early 60s. So there is an age difference, but hey, that's fine. No judging Jennifers round here, okay? So if you were walking down the street, right, if you were walking down the same street as Jenny and John, this is what you would see. You'd see Jenny and John coming towards you, holding hands, walking together, and looking like a couple so in love with each other. So happy in each other's company. Jenny, when she looks into John's eyes, she is bursting with love. And he is the same. If you were to see them on a family outing, you would see a family of 5 people who are happy, who are all having fun together. A busy family, yeah, of course, there's a baby, there's a boy at like age 11, and there's a teenage girl who's about 15, 16, so yeah, of course, busy, chaotic. But what you're going to see in that picture is a really happy family unit. Have we all got that picture? Yeah? Let's let that picture settle in. Good. Let's go a little deeper, as I'm always prone to do. When Jenny was a baby in rural Australia, her parents split up when she was 1 year old. So, tough, really tough for Jenny's mum, because she was now essentially a single parent raising a baby. It's just one of those things. The relationship, it didn't work out, and it's a shame that it didn't. But that's the way life goes. So now Jenny's mum is on her own. She has her baby. Jenny's dad had just left the family. When the relationship didn't work, he got up one day and said he'd had enough and he was out of there. He left behind his wife, his 1-year-old daughter, and like a ghost in the night, he vanished. How dramatic that was, the way I said that. Like a ghost in the night. So yeah. So Jenny grows up without a father. Her mother raises her. Her mum has like sort of boyfriends here, there, but nothing ever really sticks. So essentially it's just Jenny and her mum. When Jenny gets a bit older, when she's in sort of early adulthood, like around 21, she gets into a relationship. And although she never marries, she gets into a relationship with a man and she falls pregnant twice and has 2 children. So the 11-year-old boy that I was talking about and the teenage girl, they both come from that relationship. But essentially, that relationship doesn't work and Jenny is on her own with her 2 kids. But are we still, and I hope you are, holding that picture of Jenny and John, the couple in love, in your mind? Because we know from that picture that it works out for Jenny. We know that somewhere down the line she's going to meet a man and she's going to be happy. So who is the man that she meets? Well, this is where this story is going to go from an ordinary life into something else. Jenny decides as an adult that she wants to find out more about her family. She wants to know more about the family members that she's never met, the people that her mother would mention, but that she didn't really have a clue who they were. She wanted to kind of dig into those things. So she starts this process and she tracks down some aunts that she knew she had, but that she had never met. She knew their names, she just had to go through a process of finding them. So she meets these aunts and she asks the 2 of them, "Can you give me the information that my mother never gave me?" Jenny asks, "Who were my grandparents? Why didn't I ever meet my grandparents? Who was my father? Why did he leave?" And so the aunts, they do their best to answer her questions. But for Jenny, she gets these answers, but she wants to keep searching. She's looking to discover as much as she can. Specifically, she wants to actually keep searching for her dad. Even though he left when she was 1 year old, she wants to know, who is he? Why did he leave? Is he still alive? Has he remarried? Has he got a new family? What is the story? And so she goes back to the machine, the Google, the World Wide Web, the thing that you kids call the internet, and she searches. You can do all these, I've mentioned it before in another episode, you can do all these family tree, what's my ancestor called.com, all this sort of stuff. So she goes through that whole process and she tries to track down her dad. She tries to find him. And through the power of the internet, she actually manages to find him. She manages to track him down. Now, bear in mind here, Jenny has no idea who this man is. He left when she was 1 year old. But she reaches out to him. And she says, "I'm your daughter. I just wanted to meet with you, get an idea of who you were. If you're not interested, I completely understand, but I think it's important for me to know where I came from. So, can we meet?" Now, at first he doesn't respond. He is a little reluctant to meet with Jenny. And you can kind of see that, I suppose, from his point of view. I'm not condoning walking out on a baby when they're 1 year old. But if that's the choice you made at that moment in time, if that baby is coming at you 30 odd years later and saying, can we meet? Yeah, you might be a little reluctant to just jump into a meeting. You're not just going to be like, oh yeah, sounds great. Yeah, what's that you say, Starbucks next week? Yeah, great, I'll meet you there. You know, you're going to have to really think it through. So it takes a bit of time. But Jenny really kind of like, she reaches out by email and she's like, look, come on. I'm not angry. I just want a conversation. I just want to chat. If we go for a coffee and we find that we've got nothing to talk about, that's fine. I'll go home, you go home. But it means that at least once in her life as an adult, she's met the man who is her father and can say, I've met him. I know what he's like. I mean, I just think that's such an odd idea because I've never been through the experience of not knowing who one of my parents was. It must be so bizarre to just not know who one. And I know right now that there are people listening to this. I know there's going to be people listening to this episode who have been through that, who either don't know who their mum was, don't know who their dad was, never met their grandparents. I know that that's going to be the case. But for me, it's never the case, and I'm very fortunate in that sense. So Jenny pushes it, and she pushes it, and eventually, her father says, yes, okay, I'm a little bit apprehensive, but I would like to meet you. I would like to meet the adult Jenny who I left behind as a baby. So they arrange to meet somewhere. They arrange to meet in a bar. And, you know, they keep it casual. It's just, you know, we'll meet, we'll have a drink, a chat, and we'll see how it goes. Now, here's the thing. That meeting could have been so frosty. That could have been such a difficult meeting. Because essentially Jenny is there looking for answers. And, you know, her dad's already going into it on the back foot slightly. Because he's the one responsible for the fact that she grew up without a dad. But is the meeting frosty? No, my friends. Oh no. Quite the opposite. It's fiery. It's hot. It's chemically charged. Jenny and her father, they feel an instant attraction towards each other. Within that first drink in a bar, they connect and they realise they're actually sexually attracted to each other. And it doesn't take long before they are acting on that attraction. So let's go back to that picture that I painted. Jenny, John, 3 kids, a happy family. Well, when asked, what is this family dynamic? Jenny will say this. This is my father and partner, John. These are my 2 kids from a previous relationship. And this is the baby that me and John have had together.
This is John, my father and my partner, Alexander, my son, Samantha, my daughter, Celeste, my daughter and sister, and I'm Jenny.
Jenny and John will say that they didn't really decide to start a sexual relationship. It just happened. And when it came to Jenny being pregnant with her daughter, right, let me get this right actually. This is a mind fuck alert. Jenny is pregnant with John's baby. But that also makes the baby that she is carrying her sister. What? Yes, it does. Yes, that's it exactly. That's exactly it, right? So she's now pregnant by her father. So the baby that she is carrying is her baby. So that will be her child, but will also be her sister. If we just revisit that family picture one more time, you've got Jenny, you've got John, her dad, stroke partner, and the two older children, so the 11-year-old son and the teenage daughter, they're actually John's grandchildren, but he's acting as their father in the situation. Holy fucking moly, that is a one confusing family dynamic. I'm literally picturing the five of them dancing around the house to We Are Family. I got all my sisters with me. I mean, right, okay, jokes aside, I'm not taking the piss. I'm just trying to get my head around the dynamic. The thing I think must be difficult here is it must be difficult for the kids in this situation. Harder, I think, for the kids than it is for Jenny and John. I mean, Jenny and John have had to defend their relationship since the beginning publicly. They've had to publicly defend the choices that they made to be together. Although they will say it's not a choice. They will say you can't help who you're attracted to. Jenny will say, I know he's my father. Like, I know that, but it doesn't stop me being attracted to him. But there are people who will say, sick, sick, sick. Disgusting, sick bastards. Filthy animals, vile and sick human beings. Child abusers. Animals. But it is the kids that I think probably have the hardest time with it. Can you imagine having that in your family if you're fucking 11 years old or you're a teenager? Oh yeah, this is my dad. Also, he's actually my grandfather. Actually, he's also my mum's dad. I mean, that's a mind fuck for anybody. So they actually appear on TV because the story becomes quite sensational. And at one point during this interview on TV, they're asked about their sex life. It's so fucking awkward. It's so awkward. So the reporter is like, what's the sex like? Bold as fuck question. I mean, bold as. But I guess people might be asking. So in this situation, Jenny does most of the talking. And she sort of like goes into this. Well, you can see that she's a bit sort of thrown by the question, but she kind of wants to answer it and not. She wants to demystify that it might be weird or it might be strange, so she attempts to answer it in, a kind of articulate way, and she says, it's just like tender, and it's sensual, it's loving, it's like having sex with your best friend, with the person that you love most in the world. And as she's saying this, she's holding John, her dad, she's holding his hand and looking into his eyes, and the reporter turns to John and he says, how would you describe the sex? And he says one word. Fantastic. And he sort of says it with like an exclamation mark at the end of his voice. It's almost like he almost kind of goes, Fantastic. Now there are complications. And those aren't just from the public outcry. The complications come in the form of police. It's determined that Jenny and John are actually breaking the law, or have broken the law, by having a sexual relationship, firstly, and secondly, by having a child. Not forgetting, incest is illegal.
And it was just an instant attraction. It was like a wow factor.
I met a beautiful, attractive woman. To me, Jenny wasn't my daughter, because I hadn't seen her, as Jenny said, since she was 1. And like Jenny said, we became soulmates.
And Australia takes a very harsh line on cases of incest. But does this come under incest? Police arrive early one morning to the house. It's like 6 in the morning. They're not even out of bed yet when 2 police cars pull up into their driveway, burst into the house, and they, on the spot, in their bed, arrest Jenny and John. Another police car arrives. This has all been planned. Another police car arrives, and that is the police car that's going to take the kids away. And the kids are taken away for 3 weeks. They're put into temporary housing. And the kids remain there for a couple of months while police sort out what the hell is happening with Jenny and John. Jenny and John will later say that the arrest was horrific that morning. Because, and there's no way to prove this did happen or didn't happen, they will say that when police arrived, police abused them and called them all sorts of names. They say that while the arrest happened, the police called them animals, disgusting bastards, fucking pigs, and a pair of sick fuckers. Bastards, filthy animals, vile and sick. Whether police did human beings or didn't, child abusers, won't ever be proven. It's what Jenny and John have got to say. The kids try to back that up and say, yeah, I remember the police were shouting horrible words. Police will say, no, we didn't. It's just one of those things. Jenny and John are arrested on the charge of incest. So now, who informed the police of the relationship? Well, it was John's sister. John's sister was so outraged at this relationship that she called police to report it. But actually what transpires is that lots of people had called to report them to police. Jenny's mother being one of them. Can you imagine how hard that must be for Jenny's mother? Just to get your head around that. Here she is. She's seeing her daughter in a relationship with her dad, who is her ex-husband. I mean, weird. But yeah, police were receiving these calls about Jenny and John. And at first, they didn't really pay much attention. But more and more people began to call and report the relationship. And really, where police have to step in is, yes, incest is against the law. So they have to step in and deal with that. But also, there's children involved. So they immediately have to worry about that straight away. And although at first they didn't take it too seriously, after a number of calls they thought, fuck, right, okay, we really need to do something now. So the kids are moved out into a foster care, while all the court shit is happening. And during that time, the kids are given lots of meetings with psychologists. They're given checks for abuse, but no abuse is found. The kids are actually happy as Larry. The kids are fine. They're like, yeah, we know that he's our mum's dad and our grandfather, but that's okay, because we just look at him like, well, he's John, so it's fine. So do you remember I asked the question, is it incest? Well, this is where it gets thorny. It gets bloody tricky. Jenny and John will say it's not incest. It's actually GSA. I was like, sorry, what? What the hell is GSA? Well, GSA stands for Genetic Sexual Attraction. And Jenny and John and millions of organisations will tell you this is very different from incest. It's not the same. It's not the same as, a father and a daughter who've lived in the same house for years and then suddenly decide to start having sex. It's different because they didn't know each other before. And that's where the rules change. Make up your own mind on that. It's a tricky and a thorny one. I have to say, I kind of do see both sides of it. But to not call it incest seems odd. I don't know. Make up your own mind on what you think. So I was chatting to my mate the other day, right? And I was saying to him that I was thinking about telling this story, but that I didn't know if it was maybe a bit extreme. I wasn't sure. And then, well, actually, do you know what? In the process of the conversation, I actually talked myself around, and I thought, nah, fuck off. What? Why am I even doubting it? It's a story. I think it's extraordinary, so I'm going to fucking tell it, right? Anyway, what came up in the conversation was that he was telling me that in straight porn, there's lots of incest stuff. There's lots of father, daughter, brother, sister. I was like, what? That is weird. Like, I just didn't know that within porn that existed. I mean, what happened to good old, I don't know, a farmer and a milkmaid? I don't know. I mean, well, I'm not sure that ever existed. Well, no, it probably did, but I have no idea why I'm trying to make porn into something from the 1900s, but, anyway, do you know what? I'm getting myself a bit lost now. I'm going to shut up. But you get the point I'm making. It feels odd to me that porn would be moving towards the world of incest as a way to, make money, or that's what people were looking for. I don't know. I'm not judging. Again, no judging Julies round here. If that's your thing, that's your thing. Strange, but anyway, that's what it is. Anyway, now the kids are gone, and the courts, they have to decide how are they going to proceed. Jenny and John now face a trial where they're charged with incest, and although they do their best to plead their innocence using the GSA as their defence, a court finds them both guilty. A huge part of what comes out in the court case is probably what actually attributes to them both being found guilty. Turns out that Jenny and John's baby that they have isn't the first child that they've had together. After only being together for a short time, Jenny fell pregnant. They gave birth to a baby girl, and she died within 6 weeks of being born. And what she died from was a heart defect. Now, in court, a doctor testifies that the heart defect was due to the fact that this baby was born of an incestual nature. Now, this is a bit thorny because actually, a doctor testified, but John and Jenny, they will argue that's not the case. The baby was born with a heart defect, and neither of their DNA and the fact that they were related had anything to do with that. But one way or another, it could never be proven. Jenny and John don't serve any prison time. Instead, they are ordered to live separately. The kids are given back to Jenny, but John is told that he is not to be anywhere near the family. And he complies with this for a while. Pretty soon, the relationship starts up again. Now, they've been together for 8 years, and so to be told by a court that you're not allowed to be together anymore, they find it difficult because, they've spent every day of the last 8 years together, and they find it hard to be apart. But they are really under such scrutiny and such hatred. They've got no support from anyone. And sadly, they separate. Jenny is now on her own and she has the 3 kids. John meets another woman and he marries her. He makes his own life, but with a new wife. Now, do either of them regret anything? Or at any moment, do they apologise for their relationship? No. Do they fuck? They stand by the fact that they loved each other. They won't apologise for the fact that they were sexually attracted to each other. These days, Jenny is still single and still raising the kids. John lives only a few miles away with his new wife. And so for Jenny and for John, that's where their story comes to an end. Be it the fact that the courts got involved, be it the fact that they were under so much scrutiny and hatred from the public, be it the fact they were a news story and that they could go nowhere without people going, look, there's that woman who's shagging her dad. Be it all of those things, any of those things. These days, they live their life separately. But they will say that the 8 years that they spent together were the happiest 8 years of their lives.
And it was
disgusting, sick,
an instant attraction.
Filthy.
It was like a wow
vile
factor.
And sick human beings, child abusers.
I met a beautiful, attractive woman. To me, Jenny wasn't my daughter.
Sick. Animals, vile and sick.
Because I hadn't seen her, as Jenny said, since she was 1. And
animals, vile and sick.
like Jenny said, we became soulmates.
Sick bastards. Alright, I can't actually wait to hear your thoughts and your feelings. Mine are mixed. They are so mixed. This is why I fucking love stories. This is why I podcast. This is why I do things. Because I'm in a moment where I'm going, I don't know what to think. I can process it. I can understand it on an understanding it level. But beyond that, I've got thinking to do. about what I think of this story. I've really got thinking to do. I just knew I had to tell this story because, yeah, again, not to keep labouring the point and hitting you over the head with it. This is why I fucking do a podcast, is because I don't get a lot of things in the world. We all don't get a lot of things in the world. And sometimes when you know a story and you can connect with a character or a person or an event in that story, it helps bring clarification. It helps you to kind of make sense of it. This one, a real fucking puzzler. A real puzzler. So, like I said earlier on, I just think about the kids. I think about the impact on them. And yeah, and I think that sticks with me. But I also think about the fact that Jenny and John, they only live a few miles apart. He's remarried. He's got a new wife, a new family. I mean, the guy's 65. He's got a new wife and a new family. And here she is with 3 kids, one of which is his. And they don't live that far apart. But they don't see each other. They don't speak. Please talk to me about this. Please talk to me. Alright, I'm going to do the usual. I'm going to say to you, if you want to get in touch, you can. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. You can email me, extraordinarystoriespodcast@gmail.com. Wait, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, hang on. Yeah, that's right, Facebook. Do you want to get in touch? If you want to join the Facebook group, you can. Please do. Alright, well, until the midweek episode, I hope that you have a nice few days. Okay? Goodbye.
It didn't affect me really one way or the other. I would imagine from the look on his face, let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over. Let's get it on, let's do it, let's get it over.